I'm really sick while making this, so I apologize in advance for my voice. Hi guys, welcome to my very first YouTube video. I've been wanting to start this channel for a while now, and I don't know why I haven't, but I like teaching people, I like sharing advice, I like sharing my art journey, so that's what the premise of this channel is. For this first video, I wanted to look into something that I think makes the biggest difference in your art, and that would be lighting. And today I'm going to break down how you can actually achieve that natural lighting and how to study it yourself and apply it to your art. Sorry, my setup's really scuffed. Like, it's actually really bad. Let me flip my camera. Like, this is the setup I'm working with right now. But I digress. Let's get into it. So, for this piece, I started in grayscale before adding any color, because working grayscale first is such a good way to focus on your values. Basically, just making sure your light and shadow balance feels right before you even think about colors. If your values are strong, your colors will almost always sit nicely on top. I haven't made a dedicated grayscale painting video yet, but if that's something you'd like to see, definitely let me know in the comments below. When studying Yu-Ming Lee's paintings, one thing that stood out to me was how soft his values are. He doesn't rely on extreme contrast because most of his tones live in that comfortable mid-tone range, especially near the focal point of the paintings. If you take a look at his work in black and white, everything transitions smoothly from darks to midtones to lights. His values usually lean towards the lower half of the value scale, and that's what helps create that calm, atmospheric quality to his art. When I tried applying that to my own art, it didn't click right away for me. My values were a bit off at first, so I made a few adjustments off screen later, which is totally normal. While painting, I kept my brushstrokes broad and avoided outlining too much. Keeping things loose helps you think about the bigger image rather than the small details. If your grayscale feels cohesive in the end, coloring later on becomes so much easier. Once I was happy with the values, I started coloring on a new layer set to color mode. I began by glazing a warm brown tone across the whole piece to set up my shadows, and then I brushed in cooler bluish purple tones where the light hits. This warm versus cool relationship is something Yu-Ming Lee uses constantly. It gives his paintings that soft but vibrant feeling. The goal here wasn't to copy him exactly, but to understand how he balances temperature without muddying the colors up. Even though his palette looks muted at first glance, there's a lot of subtle hue variation within each area. Nothing is ever just one flat color, and those tiny shifts are what makes his paintings feel like they are vibrating with color. I'm going to touch more on this subject later in the video. While coloring, I try to stay mostly in the mid-tone range, keeping everything somewhat saturated but not too extreme. It was pretty experimental since I don't usually paint like this, but I think it turned out decent for a first try. I also added a secondary light source, because in a lot of Yu-Ming Lee's work, even the shadows have a gentle brightness to them, almost like they're being lit by a reflected light. That secondary light helps make the forms feel softer. After I finished the basic colors, the piece to me looked a little flat, so I did some quick curves adjustments. This step is totally optional, but it helps to fine-tune the contrast and push the lighting a bit more. I gently raised the highlights curve to make the light areas pop and lower the shadows slightly to get a bit more depth. Try not to overdo this step because subtlety is key when it comes to messing with curves. You can even tweak each color channel separately if you want to make the tones warmer or cooler overall, which I did a little bit. So, now that I pretty much did a demo on attempting to color in Yu-Ming Lee's style, I'm going to break down what I learned for you to be able to replicate it easily. I'll be demonstrating this for you with another 30-minute drawing. Yu-Ming Lee's lighting is built on strong values, so before touching color, block in your lights and shadows in black and white. Try to stay mostly in the mid-tone range and gently shift between light and shadow. This helps you focus on the structure of light instead of just color. When you add light, imagine it's diffusing softly across your subject, not a ray from a spotlight or something. Avoid harsh edges where light meets shadow, and use a big soft brush or blend lightly to keep transitions smooth. I'm not doing that in this example too much because I don't want to directly copy his style, but to incorporate it into my own. This is the heart of Yu-Ming Lee's lighting. I've noticed that he utilizes a cool light source and a warm shadow a lot of the time for a unique look to his work. If your main light source is warm, like sunlight, then your shadow should lean cooler with a touch of blue or purple. If the light is cool though, like an overcast day, then make your shadows slightly warmer, maybe with muted reds or browns, and vice versa. The subtle temperature shifts in his art makes the lighting feel very ethereal and natural. Once your base colors are down, lightly glaze warm tones over the light areas and cooler tones over the shadows, or vice versa, like I said earlier. You can use a soft brush on a layer set to color, or overlay, or multiply, or soft light or hard light. There's a bunch of layers you can use. It's just up to experimentation to see what works best for you. I wouldn't overdo it though. Just hint at these tones so the light looks like it's glowing through the paint rather than sitting on top of it. I never see this technique talked about, and it is genuinely a game changer, so I will teach you the technique called broken color. Broken color is a painting technique used to get subtle color variation in your art. You apply small distinct strokes or dabs of color side by side without blending, creating an optical mix in the viewer's eye. That seems complex and all, but it is just placing down different colors that are close on the wheel and in saturation, but just slightly varied. As long as your values are right, you can put down any colors you want. If everything's looking too smooth or flat, this is a good technique to use. You can start by brushing in slightly different hues next to each other, little bits of pink, green, yellow, or blue, or any color you desire. Keep the opacity low and don't blend too much, or be lazy like me and use a color layer mode and change the opacity of that layer to blend in. The goal is to let the colors vibrate subtly next to each other. That's what gives Yu-Ming Lee's paintings that soft painterly texture and depth. If you zoom in, you'll notice tiny bits of warm and cool hues playing against each other, soft reds next to greens, blues besides oranges, and it all still feels very natural. Once I started layering these broken colors into my art, my pieces immediately felt more dynamic and less digital looking. It added that soft painterly energy I was missing before. So if you ever feel like your painting looks too clean or dull, try introducing small color shifts instead of adding more lighting or contrast. It makes a huge difference in how natural the final piece feels. And that's pretty much it. This was my first real attempt at breaking down lighting in this way, and honestly, I learned a lot from it. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, let me know in the comments. Let me know any feedback you have for me, because this is genuinely my first time editing a video like this. And if there's a specific topic or artist you'd like to see me study next, I'd love to hear your ideas. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.